Welcome back, everybody, out to Trinity University. I want to apologize for any technical difficulties that we were have throughout the course. The early part of this game, hey, it's the start of the new year. Some bumps and bruises to be expected, but we have picked up the action, and you couldn't have come at a better time because the Tigers have picked up their first base runner against left-handed starter Matt Valine of Cortland State. It is the Red Dragons up 4-0. They're out hitting the Tigers 6-0. But Mason Meredith, the center fielder, as the first base on balls of the game here for Trinity. It's their first base runner, as I just mentioned a moment ago, and hopefully now they'll be able to get some things going offensively against this very talented left-handed pitcher. So for the first time, we see Valine working out of the stretch, and for the first time on your screen, you're able to see Jake Martin, the right fielder. Martin flew out to right field in foul territory his first time up. It was a fine catch made by Joe Tardif. Tigers right now just trying to get something going offensively. As the pitch is swung on, that's lined towards the gap in right center. That's going to get down for a base hit. Rounding second and heading for third is Meredith. And the Tiger dugout now with a nice standing ovation. Tigers get their first base runner, and they follow it up with their first base hit. That'll bring up Rafe Chomet. 392 average last season, 4 homers and 47 runs driven in. Big left-handed hitting left fielder for the Tigers. One of the best hitters probably in the country, not just at the Division III level, but there's already been some chatter about whether or not he's a guy that could potentially get drafted and signed to play ball at the next level, which, of course, has happened before at Trinity. But it's always a big deal when you have a player and a student come through here and able to take that, what seems like a big leap, as this one is grounded to the right side. The Tigers have their first run, and it will come with the first out of this fourth inning. But they are on the board, and they've got another in scoring position. 47 runs driven in a season ago by Chomet, and he's got one on the first game of the season. The deficit now just down to 3. Chris Garagiola, alongside Josh Machigema, will be joining us a little bit later in the broadcast. Now time is going to be called, and there was some activity getting loose in the Cortland bullpen, and I wonder if Coach Brown is going to make a change as he saunters out to the mound. The entire infield of Cortland has come in to meet the starting pitcher as well, and Coach Brown is going to point to the bullpen. They're going to bring in a new arm, and that will put the books on an impressive start to the season by Matt Valine. He went 3 perfect innings. He could only get 1 out here in this fourth, but his team does have still a 3-run lead. So we'll tell you about the new arm when we come back. You're listening to Tiger Baseball here, the Tiger Network. Back here in the bottom of the fourth inning, the Tigers just scratched out their first run of the game off of starter Matt Felling, and that prompted a pitching change from Coach Brown of Cortland. They have brought in right-hander now Dan Hobbs, 6'3", right-hander junior from Saratoga Springs, New York. The Tigers have a man in scoring position, and the batter to face this new arm is taking off the outside corner is Michael Goodrich, who led the team in home runs last year, and you probably couldn't chalk up a better time right now in this series opener for the Tigers to get something going with a big blast. Dobbs swings, he fouls it out of play. It's 1-1 strike. Trinity hit in the mouth a little bit to start the game after Cortland put up 2 early runs, but this is, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, this is one of the best offensive teams in the country year in and year out are the Trinity Tigers. So being able to come back and score a few runs should not be a problem for Tim Scannell's team. There's a nice healthy rip. Ball and 2 strikes. Cortland, the team in gray. Trinity, the team in white. Tall task here for Dobbs to try and work out of trouble. Never fun coming into a game, runner in scoring position. Now the pitch in the dirt. Good stop there from Varian. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. It is still cold and it's still gray here in Trinity. The good news, though, is that it's not actually raining presently at the moment. Couldn't say the same thing this morning when we got to the field around 9 o'clock. Now the pitch. And that's out of the zone. Goodrich has done a good job to work this count full. First base available, just a runner at second base, so there are some options here for Dobbs. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. He got him to chase outside. Correction, I said Dobbs. It's Hobbs. Dan Hobbs, if you want to put initial and last name together. But Hobbs does get the strikeout. Big one for the Red Dragons. Now 2 outs. Trinity right now looking for some clutch hitting, and they're going to look at John Tucker, their first baseman. Hobbs ready. First pitch, swing, and a miss. Looked like a breaking ball. And the count is 0-1. The Red Dragons are the number 8 team in the country. Trinity cracks the top 5. They're number 4. Now the pitch. And that one off the plate. Strangely enough, if you will, of course, in the Division III rankings, in every ranking as well, they show how many first place votes the team gets. And the Red Dragons, even though they're at number 8, received 3 first place votes. The Tigers of Trinity only got a pair, despite the 4-rank difference. Of course, there's a strong argument to be made that the rankings at the beginning of the year don't really mean much, regardless of the sport. In fact, some teams, I think, just get a little bit of an advantage because if you already start at the top and you're a good team, and you're probably not going to relinquish that unless you have a very turbulent season. And the expectations going into this year for both of these teams is that they should be considered pretty good favorites, not only to make the tournament, but to be teams that'll knock on the door and get back to the College World Series. I mean, it was only in 2016 these teams on the field were playing each other in Appleton. Tigers, of course, went on, beat the Red Dragons a couple of times, and not only go to that championship series, but win the 2016 College World Series. 2-2 pitch. That's high. Count is full once again. Hobbs was able to get Goodrich to strike out. Tucker trying to find a base hit and score Martin over at second. Time is called. The inning started with a walk, then a base hit by Martin. Set up the Tigers with runners at first and third, then Chomet with the RBI ground out, then a strikeout. And now the payoff pitch is grounded towards the middle. There's the shortstop, Schweitzer. He fields and he throws it way too high to first base, and it goes into the visiting dugout, and the deficit is cut in half on the throwing error by the shortstop, Schweitzer. That'll be a two-base error, the run unearned. And so Tucker, even though he doesn't get a base hit, is just able to put the ball in play, and that's why coaches talk about it so often. You never know what's going to happen. And that's sort of what happened to the Tigers in that top of the fourth inning. It looked like Tyndall had a ground ball to end the inning, and it just ducked under the glove of the Tigers shortstop, Wisniewski, into center field. That would allow a couple runs to score. Tigers, they get a pair back in this inning. Now the pitch is grounded to second, fielded cleanly by Paravaleris, and that will do it. But, as I mentioned, the Tigers get two, and all of a sudden it's a whole new-looking ball game here with the Red Dragons. They got four, Trinity's got two. We go to the fifth here on the Tiger Network. Top of the fifth inning here in South Texas. Tigers just got a pair of runs to once again bring the deficit down to two. The Red Dragons of Cortland stayed up 4-2 here on the road in the 2019 season opener. New pitchers in for both of these teams. Brian Cardone came in the previous inning for the Tigers. He still stays in the game. Mark Tyndall went 3 2/3 innings, allowed 4 runs on 5 hits. He walked 2, and he struck out 4. So a little bit of good and a little bit to be improved on by Tyndall. But good news is the Tigers still very much alive in this game. And Cardone, first batter he faces in this inning is Danny Coleman. Takes a big rip at that pitch and comes up empty. A ball and 2 strikes. It's an important series for both of these teams, not in the sense that it's going to define their season by any stretch of the imagination, as the pitch is outside. It's important because when you look at the end of the year, especially from a Tiger perspective, despite what happened at the end of last season, the Tigers, they go into this year one of the favorites in the SCAC, and you would expect them on paper to probably put together one of the best teams in the country and thus hopefully take care of business in conference play. Now, we'll, of course, see what happens. But when you play a team like Cortland that, of course, year in and year out finds themselves in the postseason mix, you want to see how you stack up against that type of team. Now the pitch is fouled out of play. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes on Coleman, who is 0 for 1. He scored after he walked back in the first inning. Now, there's plenty of arguments to be made about this time of year. It's the first game of the season. You still have A lot to figure out how that rotation is going to shape out for the Tigers. As the pitch lifted in the air. Left side of the infield, foul territory. Tough play for the third baseman, but reaching back and making the catch is Metz. And he gets a nice ovation from the guys in the bullpen. Good start for Cardone and the Tigers. Fine defensive play made by Metz and Coleman. One up and one down. We saw him have a little bit of trouble earlier in the game. But the batter now will be Paravaleris, who got the Red Dragons on the board. Pair of RBIs in the first. First pitch to him, a little out of the zone. 1 ball and no strikes the count. Either way, both of these teams will have plenty of things to take away from this series. They're going to try and play all 3 games, potentially 2 today. Still have to wait and see on how long the rest of this game takes and how long it takes to get the field turned around. The good news, the weather has held up since we've started play, which is all you can really ask for. Tigers went through about 24 bags of dirt, though, to try and dry this field up and get it ready to go. That's going to put a damper in the budget as this pitch is lifted in the air, deep left field. Chomet with room, though, will come in a couple of steps and make the catch for the second out of the inning. So just missing that pitch was Paravaleris. Did have 3 homers a season ago, but he comes up short here in his third at bat today. Nobody on, 2 outs. That'll bring up Paul Franzese, 1 for 2. Singled and scored his last time up, which was in the 4th inning. Cardone's first offering is a breaking ball that's a little bit low. 1 ball and no strikes the count. Right-handed pitcher versus a left-handed hitter, and this one is lapped towards the left field line. That's going to spray foul and reach over the pool area, tucked away behind the left field fence. Not exactly the perfect day to try and get a tan here in San Antonio, but I tell you what, give it about 6 weeks when spring eventually thaws out this field, and you will see some folks packed in that swimming pool area. Now the 1-1, that's a little bit low. Tigers have held strong for majority of this game, excluding the first and 4th inning. And even then, you look at what happened in the 4th, and even though those runs are earned, you could probably look at the ground ball to short and think that's a play that Wisniewski would like to have back. And if he does make that play, we're tied at 2. But as it stands right now, still a 4-2 game in favor of Cortland. Count is now full. It's 3 balls and 2 strikes. And a point of emphasis, I think, for Dave Smith and Tim Scannell, head coach of the Tigers, is their pitching just throw strikes. That's something that's talked about in the fall when these guys first show up for organized practices. That's something that they will be preaching throughout the entire season. And the breaking ball, as I say that, of course, a little bit out of the zone. That is ball 4. Franzese aboard for the second time today. It's the 3rd walk issued by a Tiger pitcher, and it will extend this inning. And it looks like now we are going to have a pinch runner. Franzese was the designated hitter here for Cortland. Perhaps now it's instead it's a pinch hitter. Franzese will stay over at first base. Steven Salisbury, one of the best hitters. Well, I should say he was a pitcher last year. Had pretty good numbers. Again, on the hill, he went 4-0, had a 1.57 ERA, but now he's being called upon to pinch hit. Bats from the left side to Salisbury. A 200 average a season ago. When he was in the field, he made 4 appearances, couple starts for the Red Dragons. Went just 2 for 10. So an interesting move here made by Coach Brown. He is pinch hitting for James Varian, the catcher. Tigers trying to get out of this inning. No runs scored. Right now, Cardone struggling to throw strikes here. The count is 2-0. He walked the previous batter, Franzese. And because of that, time going to be called, and Dave Smith once again going to come out and just try and calm his pitcher down. Talk some strategy. Meanwhile, Cortland's going to get some activity potentially up in their bullpen as well. .415 here at Trinity Stadium. Getting a little bit darker here, and the lights shining a little more brightly than they were about a half hour ago. There is some activity warming up in the Tiger bullpen, so could be a situation where if another guy gets on base, Coach Scannell might want to make a change. Depends on how he feels the situation plays to his strengths or potential weaknesses. 2-0 pitch is another breaking ball that misses outside the zone, and I would imagine Salisbury, who came in to pinch hit for Varian, going to be given that take sign, unless it's one that he absolutely has in the spot that he would love to have it in. There's a strike right over the heart of the plate. It's 3 balls and a strike now on Salisbury. Pinch hitting for Varian. He's a 5'11 junior. One of the few guys not from New York on this roster. Now the 3-1 pitch. That's inside. Back-to-back walks. No sign yet from the Tiger coaches. Cardone still in the game. So Tardif comes to the plate. Runners at first and second. The Red Dragons scored a pair of runs in the previous inning. They're a base hit away from getting a few more runs. Time called. Tigers had done well in that bottom of the 4th inning to respond to the 2 runs scored in the top of the 4th inning. You would think that if they are unable to score, are the Red Dragons, that momentum would be in Trinity's favor. But right now, just throwing strikes seems to be plaguing Cardone after he had very quick work of the first 2 batters. Coleman popped out to the third baseman in foul territory, and Paravaleris, a pretty routine fly ball to left. 1-0 pitch misses low. 2 balls and no strikes, and all of a sudden, the strike zone is squeezing up on Cardone, and you can be real selective if you are Tardif after watching your 2 previous teammates walk ahead of you. Red Dragons out hitting the Tigers 6-1. Of course, outscored them 4-2 at the halfway point of this one. Here's the pitch, and this one hit in the air, right center field. It is going to be called by the right fielder Martin, and he's got it for the 3rd and final out of the inning. So Cardone able to shake off a couple of walks, and the Red Dragons, no runs, no hits, and they leave 2 men on base. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning still. Cortland 4, Trinity 2 on the Tiger Network. Welcome back to the bottom of the fifth inning. Chris Garagiola alongside Josh Machagemba. It is the visitors, the Cortland Red Dragons, up 4-2. Tigers did a nice job working out of trouble, though, in that fifth inning with no runs scored. And while still in the game is Dan Hobbs for Cortland. He is going to be facing in this Tiger lineup that bottom part. That's going to start with MJ Metz. Metz takes a little bit low. Tigers' first time through the lineup just could not get much going against the starter, Matt Valine, who was excellent. Faced the first 9 batters, retired them in order, and then the second time through the lineup is when the Tigers were able to chip away for a pair of runs. Right now, Hobbs struggling to throw strikes. It's 2-1. I guess that's an unfair claim to make. He's just behind 2 balls and a strike. We saw in the previous half inning, Brian Cardone walked a couple guys, and as I mentioned, able to get out of trouble there. This pitch, though, a little bit low, so it's 3 balls and a strike, and we've got a change at the catching position after we saw a pinch hitter. So James Varian, who started the game for the Red Dragons, is now out. Garrett Hunter, number 8, the new catcher, in for the visitors. There is a check swing. He did not go around, but called a strike, so it doesn't matter. Count is full, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Now the pitch. Tough play, nicely stopped by Coleman, makes a good throw, and 1 gone. That'll bring up Logan Morrison. Flew out to right field his first time up. Tigers in search of a couple of runs here in the kickoff to the 2019 season. Morrison, one of a bunch of guys for the Tigers last year that hit over 300. Morrison checking in at 304 for the 2018 season. Looks at his strike here, and we were talking a little bit about that 2018 season, and kind of a surprise to see it end the way that it did. On the one hand, a lot of people made the argument that the Tigers, a good enough team at what they had done for most of the season, as this one is fouled away. For most of the season, you thought the body of work was enough that even though they didn't win their conference, they deserved to bid an at-large bid. But another argument could be made realistically when you see the Tigers losing 5 out of their last 6 games, that even if they had gotten an at-large bid, that wasn't going to do them very good in the season, because at that point, the train was off the tracks.
Yeah, the Tigers definitely struggled late into the year. And I think consensus was pretty much, even if they had made it, after going 0-2 in the SCAC tournament, team just really needed something to pull out of a funk. But at the same time, eventual national champion University of Texas Tyler, who's still in D3 but no longer eligible for the postseason this year as they are looking to make their way down to Division II, they finished the 3rd seed in the ASC tournament, managed to get into a regional, wasn't the West Regional, managed to get into a regional, and then went ahead and won the national championship. So anything's possible, but it was just one of those seasons for Trinity.
Of course, trying to change things around this season. Off to a bit of a slow start, just 1 hit so far through 4 2/3 innings of this game, as we're in the bottom of the 5th inning. Logan Morrison grounded out to second. Jack Wisniewski, the number 9 hitter, he comes to the plate. Popped out to second his first time up. Now the pitch. And that's a little bit low. 3 balls and no strikes. Not a bad miss, certainly, but...
Yeah, definitely not a bad miss. Looked like a strike from the angle we had, but Tigers will definitely take it.
Cold night. Sometimes it's not as easy to see straight, so... That's a 4-pitch walk here for the Tigers, and Maybe a little two-out magic to come with it. Nice job there from Wisniewski. That's only the second walk issued by a Cortland pitcher. Starter Matt Valine had one. That was in the 4th inning. He would only live to see 2 more batters before finally, I shouldn't say finally, but eventually getting pulled for Dan Hobbs. It was an impressive outing by Matt Valine. Can't be in line for the win, given the fact that he only pitched 3+ innings, but nonetheless, very good work from him. As we jump to the top of the order, and Mason Meredith looks at a strike. Meredith was the guy who drew the walk from Valine. That was, again, back in the 4th inning. He would come around to score. The man on deck also scored, and Jake Martin. This one swung on. A diving stop over at third by Coleman. Throws a strike to first in the year's first defensive gem. What a fine play made by Danny Coleman, and the Tigers are done away here in the bottom of the 5th. We go to the 6th. That is still the Red Dragons 4 and the Tigers 2 on the Tiger Network. Top of the 6th inning, Aaron San Antonio. Cortland still up by a pair of runs. Still in the game for the Tigers, it is Brian Cardone. And he worked out of trouble in that 5th inning. Big reason why he's probably rewarded with the 6th. And the first batter he's going to face, Wyatt Myers, looks at a called strike. Good breaking ball there to start off the inning. Right now, the biggest thing that jumps out for the Tigers in this game, just the 1 hit so far through 5 innings. This one on the ground. Should be an easy play for Morrison, and it is. No problem. 1 up and 1 down. The Tigers have not yielded much in terms of offense for Cortland. They got their 2 runs in the first and the second pair of runs back in the 4th. Outside of that, it's been a good showing here for the Tigers. Dan Schweitzer singled his last time up. Squares to bunt, and he takes a strike at the knees. Quickly behind 0-1, and it really is just a night and day difference when these Tiger pitchers start off with strike 1 and usually how the at-bat goes. 0-1 pitch, a little bit high. But it is the most important pitch for a pitcher in baseball. You get that first pitch strike, and the entire dynamic of the at-bat changes, and that's why coaches almost at every level preach the importance of strike 1. 2 balls and a strike now.
Yeah, and I'm sure former Tiger players will definitely tell you that Coach Scannell will also preach the importance of having pitch 2 go as strike 2 and pitch 3 going as strike 3. Not one that likes to waste a lot of pitches.
Certainly, Coach Scannell has been a coach who has emphasized the importance of guys. I like to say you finish your veggies. You go out there, and Coach Scannell is going to give you an opportunity in the time of guys having pitch counts and protective arms. he's going to give guys the chance to go 7, 8 innings deep if they can get the job done. That offering a little bit too high. The count is full, but we had talked with the coaches a little bit about a game plan, and they had talked about the idea of maybe a 3-3-3. Just even balance for the course of this game, as that is strike 3 called on a beautiful breaking ball. Cardone fired up, and he should be. That was his best pitch so far of the game, and it gets him his second strikeout. First one looking by any Tiger pitcher tonight, and quickly 2 gone for the top of the order in Giordano. There was activity up for the Tigers in the previous inning. Not the case here. And a good start to this at bat. It's another strike, this time over the outside corner.
I'm not saying those aren't good pitches, but Mike might be getting a little cold out there and wanted to wrap this one up.
It's a bold claim. 1-1 the count. He's got the long sleeves on. He's probably got some tights under those pants as well, so stay nice and snug. Come on. It's baseball here, folks. These are tough guys. It is an interesting visual. You look on the far side of the field, all the Trinity Tigers bundled up. Got the jackets on, hands in pockets. There might be some gloves on those hands as well.
Talked to one of the coaches from Cortland, said that he was watching the weather forecast, and on Thursday put all the guys' jackets out into their locker and told them, hey, before we get on the flight, let's go ahead and grab those. He said half of them were like, I don't want to go back over there and get them. So might have some cold players from Cortland, but I'm sure they're absolutely used to it.
This one scorched towards right field, but it'll hang up long enough for Martin to make the catch. And it's a 1-2-3 inning. So as we go to the bottom of the 6th, Tigers looking for a little bit of offense. They still trail it by 2 on the Tiger Network.
Welcome back. Bottom of the 6th inning here in San Antonio, and at bat for the Tigers will be senior Jake Martin. And Martin, first pitch from Hobbs, and takes it for a strike. Martin, the senior, with a down year last year. had a chance to come up middle of the week and watch him take BP, and he looked pretty solid. And it was pretty much hits like that. Line shots into the gap. Now he's going to try to stretch it to a double, and he just gets underneath the tag. And you can see him fired up there. Double lead off the inning here in the bottom of the sixth for Martin. And that'll get the Tiger bench fired up. And that'll bring up a cleanup hitter, Rafe Shamet. And you go from Jake Martin with the leadoff double to the junior superstar here for the Tigers. And don't use that term loosely, but Rafe Shamet is the real deal. Has a legitimate chance to be a junior signee for the MLB draft if he can put together another solid season here. Played in the New England College Baseball League, had a short cup of coffee in the Cape League as well, and did very well over his summer. He tries to lay down a bunt and comes up empty, and that'll be strike one. Hobbs out there still working. Leadoff double will change a few things as Hobbs works from the stretch. The left-handed hitting Shamet uses that to his advantage here in San Antonio. The right field foul pole says 318 down the line. Shamet with 6 homers a season ago. As you can see, the back and forth there from the shortstop. The inside pitch, that's going to be called a strike. Now it's quickly 0-2. And if you're going to take on Shamet, that's count you need to be. See if you can get him to chase something low and away. Definitely have your options here if you're Cortland on how you want to go about this. Anything on the ground would be beneficial if he can pull it for the Tigers, as Martin would be able to move over. Inside pitch, and it comes just too far, and that'll make it 1-2. Shamet, a 5-tool player here at the Division III level. And we've seen him grow over the past 2 years. He came in, he was a hard-hitting line drive hitter with some really good speed, and he has developed that into an all-around game. Did his part in ECBL All-Star a year ago, and that's with Division I talent within that league. See if he can just do a job and move Martin over here. And for Hobbs, looking to erase him with a strikeout. Pitches high. Oh, even the count at 2.
You know, Josh, it's so interesting. You listen to guys talk about that first day, that first game, and just trying to get that first hit. And it's something that guys are very conscious of. And it seems like when you're able to get it, it really sets the tone for your season. You just have a weight lifted off your shoulders. And for a guy like Shamet, you know he wants to try and get going as early as possible.
Shamet fouls that one back onto the rooftop. If I had my way, the future home of the Trinity University press box.
Rest in peace.
Pipe dreams. We'll get it sorted. Two-two delivery once again. Oh, opening day. Bad timing on my part. Thought Hobbs is getting ready to deliver. Shamet calls time. One of the things that Coach Scannell was looking to do, I said I caught some BP with Martin. Shamet was in that session as well. And one of the things Coach Scannell was looking to do was just get guys to hit line drives. He wanted them to hit the ball no more than 8 feet above second base, above the second baseman's head. Just send line shots all the way around the field. And if he could start, have them hit it up the middle and then start working their way around to where they could place the ball. And saw Martin doing it in BP, and also saw Shamet doing it. Not as hot early on in the season as Martin, but he was looking pretty good in the cage. He takes that one, pops it up. Over off the left side, coming all the way in is the left fielder. And to make the grab and get a good look at him right there as Bavard, with a nice run, able to come in and take charge, calling off two infielders going on their back pedal.
Big out, as you sort of alluded to before. You wanted Shamet to try and do a job there, a left-handed hitter, one of your best hitters. You roll one over and you move him over. It just creates a lot more flexibility, putting that runner at third. Not to say that Goodrich can't get the job done here with a runner still at second base, but it just kind of chalks itself up as a missed opportunity for the Tigers. And when you're only down by a couple, it can really feel like a lot against a team like Cortland.
Yeah, absolutely. Fortunately for Trinity, though, I think having Goodrich up with a runner on, I feel like with it being a two-run game, you are definitely within the zone of being a pitch away from this game being tied. Goodrich with 8 homers last year. Loves that short porch out in left field. See if he can find something he can turn on. So he's quickly ahead 2-0, and that's going to bode well for his chance to get a pitch that he likes.
And that's probably the biggest difference between that and the at-bat by Shamet. He never really got in a position where he could be selective, look for a fastball in a particular zone. Meanwhile, Goodrich, he's got all kinds of options. He doesn't have to give in here, especially for a reliever who's thrown quite a bit of pitches.
Martin goes, the throw down, and the throw beat him there, but unable to pull it in was the third baseman. And Coleman just unable to handle, so a stolen base for Martin. And a risky call here from Coach Scannell on the 2-0 count. Might have been a hit-and-run situation where they thought Goodrich might find something they like to handle, but could have also been just a mixed-up sign.
Boy, if it wasn't a hit-and-run, that's gutsy in that situation, no doubt about it. And if it's a missed sign, you count your lucky stars if you're the man at the plate.
Absolutely. And that one's up high. And the count now 3-1 to Goodrich. If I'm Cortland here, I'm probably looking at his stats from last season and saying, I've got to be very careful here. If we're going to miss, let's miss for a ball 4, put runners on the corners, and take our chance for a double play. You don't want to miss over the plate or in. That one put in play. Martin's going to be held. And Goodrich comes up empty, and really a great job here for Hobbs as he has put away 2 of the Tigers' best hitters after giving up that leadoff double for Martin.
Well, that's a painful one as well from a Trinity perspective, because a guy who has the ability to lift the ball in the air and deep gets a pitch up in the zone, and he pounds it into the ground, and he puts it right to the corner, which is obviously going to be in at third. So, as you say, to Hobbs' credit, that's finding a way to get a big out. And from the Tigers' perspective, you can look at it being early in the year, but that's something where they've got to execute. They've just got to be a little tighter in those situations. When you have runners at third base and less than 2 outs, you got to find a way to get those runs home with the middle of your lineup.
Yeah, and if they come away from this inning without scoring Martin, it is going to be one that when they get to the 8th and 9th innings, it's going to have a big impact.
Job done.
Nice job by John Tucker.
Well, you said it. If they didn't get it home, it would have felt like a missed opportunity. It would have felt like a painful miss and a nice 2-out approach. The line drive in batting practice, that was an absolute screamer right back up the middle. He's not trying to pull it. He's just trying to hit the ball where it's pitched. It sounds simple. It sounds like something you've heard 1,000 times if you've paid attention to baseball. But when you see it executed, it's just as fun as the first time.
Now to bring up Dallas Bender, but before we can get to Bender, looks like Coach Joe Brown is going to have a little conversation with his team. And bottom of the 6th inning here, Tigers down a run, and they have one on for Bender. And we've got a pitching change. We'll get you caught up on that when we come back here in just a moment. And welcome back here, bottom of the 6th inning. Dallas Bender to step in for the Tigers. And Isaiah Hudson on to the mound for Cortland. And a big moment, 2 out, 1 on. That being John Tucker, who just pulled it in the RBI. Showing bunt, no intention of laying that one down was Bender.
Well, for the Tigers, you have a guy on at first base in Tucker. He stole 5 out of 6 bases last season, so he's got pretty good speed. Obviously, Joe Brown, the coach for Cortland, you have a slight advantage holding runners on with a lefty. I know that there's a pickoff right on cue, but a slightly errant throw. Look at this. The Tigers, they were caught essentially out of position, if you will. They were picked off, and they turn it in to their advantage. It could go either way, but from my perspective, I feel like he was going to beat that throw for a stolen base.
Yeah, definitely got a good break there. And one thing, if we assume that the Jake Martin play wasn't a missed sign and that was a steal or a hit and run, if you are Trinity right now, you have got to be impressed with the ability early on in the season. Coach Scannell going for it, trying to make something happen. He talks about that a lot. Just try to make something happen, get guys moving. He's probably worried a little bit about the temperature. He wants to get guys running around, wants them to start trying to be aggressive and make something happen. And so far, it's worked out to their advantage.
Well, that's a good pitch there from Hudson. 1-0 count, a slow spinning curveball. Dips right over the knees for a strike, and that's fine. You leave that up in the zone, and you could be in all kinds of trouble. And as a guy looking for a fastball and Bender, that's the last thing you're probably expecting, someone coming in that slow. So fine execution there from Hudson. And from Bender's perspective, you got to be ready for the fastball always. They talk about that almost at every level of professional baseball. Be ready for the fastball.
delivers. That one hit by Bender in a play. Bobbled at third. Now Tucker coming off third. He's back in time. And now they're going to probably, if I'm guessing, Cortland may want to challenge this one to see what Mike saw from home plate. Tucker came off his line at third when the third baseman came over and tried to apply the tag. I think Mike's going to talk about it. I don't think they're going to change the call here.
Definitely got it right from a naked eye perspective. When he dove back into the bag, he was ahead of the tag that was coming from the third baseman, Coleman. The only question, and I don't think we'll be able to get the answer, is when he applied the tag, at any point did the hand of Tucker's come off the third base bag? You obviously can't tell from this perspective, and I don't think either of the two umpires would be able to tell. So you have to leave the call as it is, and because of that, I do think it is the right call.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough call to change, especially for home plate umpire having to look 90 feet away to see something that might be 3 inches of difference. But it was like two freight trains trying to run straight at each other. You had the third baseman charging in hard.
And look
for Bavard, I mean, he probably did his job. There's probably a good chance that Tucker had his hand come off the bag slightly. But, like you said, it's going to be too hard of a call to change.
And look at all this work being done by the Tigers here with 2 outs in the inning. I mean, we were talking about when John Tucker was at the plate. If this turns out that the Tigers aren't able to get a run home, momentum right back with Cortland. They're sort of kicking themselves because they couldn't execute. Now they've got a chance to potentially tie or take the lead.
Hudson misses outside. Count now 2-0 for Mets.
Guys on the field right now for Cortland, when you got 2 outs, you're okay, we're 1 pitch away, we're 1 play away, and when you see the opposition just finding a way to get on base to extend the inning, all of a sudden it just makes you more anxious as a defender.
And now 3-0. I think also as a defender, you're stuck out there. You feel like you should have been in, and you're just standing out there. Not that I think the weather's going to really bother Cortland that much, but I think it's just the idea of we should have been in already. Taking on that one, now 3-1.
But you can't try and convince me that Brevard, Giordano, and Tardif, the outfielders for Cortland, it's unpleasant out there. Just standing, a little bit of wind swirling around. I mean, like you said, they're ready to just get moving once again.
That one swung on and missed. Count runs full now. Bender will be on the move. And that's actually a big play now as the count runs full, because if he's able to hit something into the gap, there is a good chance that Bender might be able to give Trinity the lead. Hudson delivers. That ball shot up the middle. Scooped up nicely in the one hop.
Well, you can see some gesticulating by the assistant coach over for the Tigers. He's trying to argue that foot was off the bag. And now, bit of a conference here. They just want to make sure that they saw it.
They're not changing the call.
Oh, they have.
Oh, prove me wrong. I'll take it. It's a tie game. And that's going to draw the ire from Joe Brown, and I think rightfully so.
Well, if that's the case.
I can't blame Cortland at all. That is a tough call to make. It's essentially the same call that you had at third base. You might be able to see this one a little bit more cleanly, but I feel, from Cortland's perspective, you're looking at a situation where 2 bang-bang calls from a guy looking at it 90 feet away have gone against you.
And this is now a scorer's nightmare because an error has to be assessed on the play. You would imagine if the foot is off the bag, it's a throwing error that's got to go on the shortstop. It makes that run unearned. It's not a base hit for for Mets. The run does come home. You had everybody from a Cortland perspective run off the field. They were ready to go, so you've now got to reset and refocus. And the Tigers have the go-ahead run in scoring position.
feel bad for the stats people over here having to reset, go back to the last inning. They were ready to move on as well. It's going to be Morrison checking in now against Hudson. Still 2 down here, and we're still in the bottom of the 6th.
So again, that's an E6. The error going against Schweitzer. Unearned run that's charged. Well, again, it's not charged to anybody, but it is an unearned run. The run yielded by Hudson.
Yielded by Hudson. I believe it was the runner, the last runner that Hobbs had faced, with Tucker scoring on the play. Not that that makes too much of a difference.
Tigers will take it.
Tigers will take it. And for the Cortland fans tuning in today, first of all, thank you. And second of all, I can feel your frustration on that one. That one into foul territory down the right field line and running over and making the catch is a right fielder.
Looks like that's Tardif.
Yeah, nice job by Tardif. And that will officially end the bottom of the 6th inning. So, Tigers able to plate 2 in the bottom of the 6th and tie the game at 4. We'll be back in just a moment. So welcome back. Top of the 7th inning here in San Antonio. Back out on the mound for the Tigers, Matt Cardone. And for Cortland at bat, Colin Brevard. Brevard with the play over at third base that was, I think at this point, controversial. Allowed runners to score for Trinity. And he gets a lot of that one. Sends that one out to left, and apologize for the camera that we've lost from home plates. But Rafe Shamet with the play, camped out underneath it about 2 feet from the warning track, and he's got the first out of the inning.
Tigers have done a nice job chipping away. You know, at one point you're down 4-0. You're not really getting anything going offensively. It's easy if you have a mentally weak team to just sort of kick it in, but that's not what the Tigers have, and they knew that their offense was going to come around, albeit probably didn't expect that inning to go the way that it did in the previous half inning, but 4-4 as we go into the 7th. Hey, best of 3 inning game right here. Let's see who can come out on top.
Absolutely, and trying to do damage for the Red Dragons will be Danny Coleman. Coleman, the junior from Saratoga Springs, stepping in. Brian Cardone still out there for Trinity. Delivers. And the count now 2-0. as we are in changeover mode here at Trinity University. Basketball game starting at 5:30. Conference game against Southwestern, a pretty big game for the women coming up. But for fans of the Diamond, maybe no one bigger than this for opening day. 4 versus 8 here on the D3Baseball.com poll. Both teams highly ranked, I think top 15 no matter what poll you're looking at, except for the Perfect Game poll where Trinity comes in unranked. I'd say after the end of last season, you can't really blame them too much on that one, as Danny Coleman takes a 4-pitch walk from Brian Cardone. And then the Red Dragons have a runner on with 1 down. Dave Smith making his way. Let's see if he's given the signal. Hasn't come up with the arm yet? No, he has. He did it early. I missed it. Going to the righty. We'll have a pitching change here in a moment, and we'll be back in just a bit. And welcome back. On the mound for the Tigers, the sophomore from Sacramento, California, Corey Cater. Corey Cater, 17 appearances last season, all in relief, finished 2-0 and had 3 saves. Went 32 2/3 innings, allowing 19 hits, 6 runs, all of them earned, for an ERA of just 1.65 as a freshman, and had 42 strikeouts, which gave him a K-to-9 ratio of 11.57. Was a stellar freshman pitcher for the Tigers. Obviously, his first appearance here in his second season. So we'll see what Corey Cater has for the Red Dragons here in a tight contest.
Some managers have the approach of making sure that guys earn their spot on the team before they get playing time. A lot of managers will make sure that freshmen sort of ride the bench and get a sense of what to expect in this program. But, Tim Scannell has always been a guy that rewards ability and effort. And so for a guy like Cater that freshman year to pitch in some big moments, that just shows you, one, the stuff is good, and that the application is equally as good. This is a big situation in the game.
Runner goes, and a line shot right at Logan Morrison. That's going to be an easy double play. And the Tigers with Corey Cater, what was that, 2 pitches and he's out of the inning. Just lucky break here for Trinity. And we head to the stretch. Got a tie game. Call your friends. This one's good. We'll be back.
Bottom of the 7th inning here at Tigers Stadium. It's a tie game at 4 apiece, and it has been a good one for both sides. As Wisniewski starts it off for the Tigers. First pitch swinging. Tough, slow roller to second base. The throw to first is errant. And the Tigers start off the bottom of the 7th inning with the go-ahead run aboard on what should be an infield single. Tough play all around. Pero Valeris gave it everything he could. He came charging in, basically tried to barehand and throw on the run, and his throw a little bit wide. So it is a base hit to start this one off, and the Tigers in business. So Isaiah Hudson still pitching here for the Red Dragons of Cortland. They were up at 1.40 in this game, and the Tigers have just been fighting their way back, and now they are really in business to take the lead late, which is exactly what Scannell would be hoping for from a Tiger perspective. As here's a bunt attempt, popped up foul territory. That was done by Mason Meredith, and I don't think that's the situation where you want to try and bunt for a base hit. Meredith, the right-handed hitter, squared early and started taking a couple steps to first. This is the time for a sacrifice bunt. Just make sure you get that thing down and you force the third baseman to come in and try and field it. That'd be a long throw and an almost impossible throw to second base. So it's no balls and a strike. We apologize again. One of the cameras is down. So this is sort of evolved, or I should say devolved its way back into a radio broadcast. Is charging in the third baseman. Hudson delivers, and this one bunted foul once again by Meredith. He's in a spot of trouble here. It's 0-2. Nobody out, bottom of the 7th inning. Over at first base is Wisniewski. He legged out an infield single. Tigers had 2 runs in the 4th inning, 2 runs in the 6th, after the Red Dragons had 2 runs in the 1st inning and 2 runs in the 4th. Hudson, the left-hander, from the stretch. He deals. Meredith swings and misses, and that is strike 3. Big strikeout for Hudson and the Red Dragons. He's unable to advance the runner, and that will be the first out of this 7th inning. That's going to bring up the right fielder, Jake Martin, who has reached base twice tonight. He singled back in the 4th inning, and he doubled and scored in the 6th. Left-handed pitcher versus right-handed hitter. Tigers trying to find a way to advance that runner any way they can, as there's a check on the runner at first. Tigers were able to do that in the 6th inning. They stole a base from second to third, did Martin, the man at the plate, which at the time felt like a risky move. Obviously, it worked out for the Tigers. He was safe. But now, if there can be a ball that gets away from the catcher, Garrett Hunter, who came into this game late in the 5th inning as the pitch is outside, it's 1-0. If anything can get away from Hunter's reach and move that runner over into second base, that's like finding a $10 bill in your pocket. Hudson ready, big left-hander. Couple of bluff looks to home as he kicks and throws to first base. Easily back in time, though, is Wisniewski. Cortland 4 runs on 6 hits, but they have 3 errors, and those errors have directly contributed to half of the Tiger offense. Meanwhile, the Tigers have just 3 hits, as there's a slide step and a strike delivered by Hudson. For any pitcher trying to throw out of the slide step, the biggest challenge you have is making sure that that upper body can stay basically at the same pace as the lower body. And if you're late, that drag forces you to miss typically high and outside if you're a left-hander to a right-handed batter, which is what we have here. A 1-1. Breaking ball misses low and inside. It's 2 balls and a strike. The other challenge you have from the slide step is how do you generate that power? Typically, you want to build from that back leg, and when you're just pushing off to the plate, it's hard to get that 100% strength you normally get from your lower half. Now the pitch, And a late and slow strike called, but it is in there for a strike. And the count is even at 2-2. Martin the batter, Wisniewski the base runner. 1 out. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. Game tied at 4. Isaiah Hudson ready. The pitch. Swing and a miss. He chased a fastball at the letters for strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts. So with 2 outs, Rafe Chalmette come to the dish. And a big situation his last time up. Runner at second, nobody out. And he instead grounded out to third. Or excuse me, he flew out just down the third baseline. A nice catch was made by the left fielder, Bavard. Now he's got a chance here to do some damage with 2 outs. The pitch. And Chalmette takes a strike over the outside corner. It's 0-1. Chalmette led the team last year with a .392 average. He had 5 triples as well and 47 RBIs. Now a quick check at the runner at first base. Wisniewski back in there, plenty of time. Hudson, after allowing a single to lead off the 7th, has struck out a pair. Now the pitch. That is high and inside to Chalmette. Evens the count at 1 strike. Temperatures have dropped a little bit here on the field, and we've seen a little bit of that precipitation that we hinted at this morning sort of rear its ugly head once again. It's sort of misting around the field. Hudson ready. A 1-1. An excuse-me swing from Chalmette, and he fouls it straight back, so a little bit behind the barrel here. It's 1-2. 39 degrees right now on this gray Saturday to start the 2019 baseball season. The number 8 team in the country, the Cortland Red Dragons, and the number 4 team in the country, the Trinity Tigers, tied at 4. Go-ahead run is on at first for Trinity. Now the pitch. Swing and another foul ball. Still 1-2. Isaiah Hudson, 6'1", 210-pounder from Hyde Park. He went to Franklin Delano Roosevelt High School. This is Hudson's senior season. And now he's ready. Home with a 1-2. Swing and a line drive towards center field. That's a base hit. Wisniewski will make a small turn around second but stay there. And a 2-strike, 2-out base hit by the Tigers' offensive star a season ago will extend this inning. Hudson will have to face Goodrich, the catcher who led the team in home runs last year. So 2 on, 2 out. The go-ahead run in scoring position. If the Tigers can take the lead, then that would mean that the Cortland Red Dragons are down to their final 6 outs. Of course, that requires more 2-out magic. Tigers had a lot of that in the 6th, hoping they left a little bit of that good juju here in the 7th. Goodrich, right-handed hitter. Nice wide stance. Hudson, the first pitch. Slow breaking ball, and it's a strike over the outside corner. That's an expectation of coaches and managers really affiliated with almost any level of baseball. If you're coming out of the bullpen, you better be able to start off a batter with a first pitch off-speed pitch, and you better be able to throw it for a strike. Goodrich was sitting dead red fastball, got the old knee buckler. The count is 0-1. Southpaw ready once again. Now the 0-1 instead of back pick over to first base. Cortland trying to deploy some trickery here. 2-1. You instead of going after that lead runner, you go for that secondary runner with a back pick, and Troy Nelson, the first base coach, all over it. Of course, a fine player, had a tremendous career, did Nelson with the Tigers. Now he continues his services in a more assistant coaching role. Here's the pitch to Goodrich. This is lifted in the air to right field and deep. Long run. Nobody's going to get to it. It's down and it's going to go to the wall. 1 run will score. Here comes the second run, Chomet. 2 runs will score. It's a 2-run, 2-out double for Michael Goodrich. His first 2 RBIs of the year in the first game of the year, and it couldn't come at a better time. That ball was scorched into the right center gap, and the Tigers, they've now scored 6 unanswered runs to take a 2-run lead at 6-4. That pitch up in the zone, and Goodrich, he was ready for it. That's what got Mark Tyndall into a little bit of trouble when he started the game. A lot of those pitches were up in the zone, and when Cortland got barrel to ball, they were able to turn singles into doubles, and finally Goodrich returns the favor. Pitching change is going to be made here. Coach Brown has seen enough. He goes to the bullpen, and we will step out. The Tigers take a 2-run lead once again, thanks to Michael Goodrich's 2-run double here on the Tiger Network. So the new pitcher into the game here for Cortland, it is number 42, John Retta, the 5'10", 180-pound sophomore from Mahopac, New York. He will face, for the Tigers, the right-handed hitting John Tucker, who had a big hit earlier in the 6th inning. And the first pitch to Tucker is in there for a strike. The count is 0-1. Big moment in this game. Another insurance run out there at second base in Goodrich is the 0-1 offering. Breaking ball low and outside to the right-hander. Splits the count at 1-1 strike. Amazing to see this Tiger resolve on a day when there are so many reasons and opportunities for any team really to just things aren't going your way. As this pitch is swung on, hit sharply to third. It is knocked down by Cortland, and then he throws errantly to first base. That was about 15 feet wide. They're going to wave Goodrich around third as the ball rolls up the first base line, and another run will score on what should be a two-base error. It was a fine play by Cortland to knock it down. He had time to throw to first, but his throw was so errant of the bag. You could rule it a hit and an error. The hit giving him first base and the error giving him second, him being John Tucker. Tough to say. It was hit sharply, and he did have to get down, but once he had knocked it down, he picked it up with a bare hand, and a good throw gets him at first base. Except it wasn't a good throw. It was about two bad throws combined into one. So it's now 7-4 as the unearned run, Goodrich, comes home to score. Still all of this happening with 2 outs in the inning, and Dallas Binder the batter. They snap a throw down to second to the Red Dragons. Cortland looked so cool and composed to start this game, and really it was behind their starter, Matt Valine, who had retired the first 9 batters he had faced, ran into trouble his second time through the lineup as the pitch is swung on and popped up by Binder. The shortstop, just tucked inside the left field line, will make the call, and he'll make the catch. And the side will eventually be retired here in the 7th inning, but not before the Tigers get 3 more runs on 3 more hits. It's all of a sudden a 7-4 game as we go to the 8th here on the Tiger Network. Top of the 8th inning here at Trinity University. The Tigers, they are right now a maroon wave that just cannot be stopped, is leading off this inning, and swinging here is Paul Franzese for the Red Dragons. 1 pitch and a base hit lined into left field. So a good start to this inning for Cortland as they try and get back some of the momentum that was just seized by the Tigers. Franzese now reaches for the 3rd time tonight. It's his 2nd hit. He's got a walk sandwiched between the 2. That base hit coming against Corey Cater, who came into the game late in the 7th inning. He got an inning-ending double play on I can't really call it a botched hit and run. It was well struck by Pero Valeris. He just hit a line drive right to second base when the runner was in motion. So a very easy double play to end the 7th. Now the Red Dragons, they need at least 3 runs here in the final 2 innings if they're going to tie or take the lead in this one. Leadoff single's a good start, and now the batter is the new catcher for the Red Dragons. That was Garrett Hunter. He came in after Steve Salisbury pinch hit for James Varian. Let's try and keep all those names together, if you will, as he is hit in the back. My goodness, Oh, this is a disastrous start here for the Tigers in this this 8th inning. A leadoff hit and then a hit batsman. All of a sudden, the tying run comes to the plate. There's nobody out for the right fielder, Joe Tardif. And it's a bit of an interesting predicament for head coach Joe Brown. What does he want to do in this situation? Because if you get a bunt down with Tardif, you can get at least one run back. A base hit would get you, you'd like to think, 2 with runners at second and third. But you need, obviously, 3 to tie the game. Early in the game, this is an easy decision. You let your guys swing away and see if you can get a 4 or 5, maybe a 6-run inning. But you absolutely need runs in any way you can get them. Pitch to Tardif's in the dirt, and the runner's going to break for third. The runner at first is caught in the middle. Goodrich's throw is late. One too many pump fakes. He had him if he just snapped the throw down to first base, but instead he just held on to it. So Franzese is going to go over to third base on the wild pitch. Green stays put over at first after he dives in there safely. First and third, nobody out. And the pitch from Cater's in the dirt. Strikes, and well, this is not an encouraging sign to start off this 8th inning. Tardif 0 for 3 today. A couple of ground outs, and he flew out to right field his last time up back in the 5th inning. We fast forward to the 8th. 2 balls and no strikes, and Goodrich calling time to just talk things over with his pitcher. A wise decision. Cater's still just a sophomore, but he got a lot of experience as a first year. Infielders playing at double play depth here for the Tigers. Corners also in. The third baseman, MJ Metz, the only one with a flexible role, if the ball is hit to him. As the pitch, a called strike over the outside corner. It's 2-1. Basically, if Metz is coming in to field it and the runner breaks off the bag, he can go to the plate no problem. Otherwise, he will be starting the 5-4-3 double play. Cater steps off, checking the runner over at first. Again, some of that precipitation coming down here on the playing surface on an already cold day. Here's the pitch. And again, Cater misses low in the dirt. 3 balls and a strike. A nice backhanded scoop there from Goodrich. That's one, if you're going to go ahead and backhand it, you better come up with it, because if it's not in the glove, it's going to the backstop. Tardif can be selective as the 3-1 pitch is taken at the knees for a strike. It's 3-2. Big pitch there from Cater. Needed to be well located in that hitter-friendly count, and he paints one at the knees. Question now for Cortland. Do they put that runner at first base, Green, in motion? 3-2. Here's the pitch. Runner stays put. Swing and a miss. It's a delayed steal. They'll take the out. The runner, Green, goes from first to second base on what's going to be his first stolen base of the season. But as I mentioned, for Cater, that's his first strikeout of the night, and it's a big first out. So the batter now, the first baseman, Wyatt Myers. He has an RBI single way back in the 4th inning. Also had a walk in the 2nd. Tigers have used 3 pitchers. The Red Dragons have used 4. Cater working out of the stretch. You've got Franzese at third, Green at second, and the pitch. Taken outside, ball 1. Right-handed hitter versus a right-handed pitcher. Myers a season ago, no homers. He did have 8 RBIs, hit only .256. Limited opportunities for him. He's going to have a much more advanced role this season. Now the pitch. Swung on, a jam shot towards shallow right field. Will it stay fair? It will, and it will bring home 1 run. They wave the runner Green around third. Here comes the throw to the plate. It's not in time. That's going to be, I believe, a 2-run double. Well, I say it's a double. It could be just a base hit and him advancing on the throw, but you just got to wonder. That was a little flare that was just crept inside the right field line, and you hustle out of the box. That's one where you could maybe stretch into 2 bases. So it will be ruled a double, but more importantly, the tying run now over at second base and less than 2 outs. Here's the pitch now to the number 9 hitter, Dan Schweitzer, and he takes a strike. He's quickly behind 0-1. What a clutch hit, though, for for Wyatt Myers. Right when his team goes down by 3 runs, which can really feel like a big lead for any team. They just cut the deficit to 1 in the blink of an eye as the 0-1 pitch is above the letters. That's taken to even the count at 1-1 strike. Well, Myers now has 3 RBIs on the night. And he's done it all in that 8th spot in the lineup, which we alluded to a little bit earlier in the broadcast about how both of these teams have well-rounded offenses 1 through 9. Now the pitch. Ooh, an excuse me swing. He didn't want to do it, but Schweitzer couldn't stop himself. It's going to cost him a strike, and the count is 1-2. Cater, long look in for his sign, and the right-hander doesn't see anything he likes, so he steps off. We'll do it all over again. 1-2 strikes, 1 out. Now time called again, and Goodrich wants to just have a word with his pitcher, and I'm not sure the home plate umpire, well, he was having an extended conversation with Michael Goodrich. I can't imagine what it would have been about, but eventually Goodrich able to get out to his pitcher and just trying, again, get back on the same page. Tying run over at second base. We're in the top of the 8th inning. It's a 7-6 lead. The Tigers led by 3 runs to start this inning. Here's the pitch, and just a little bit low. Not a bad spot to go if you're Cater with that electric fastball. Two balls and 2 strikes. Cater has his sign. His pitch to the right-handed hitting Schweitzer on the way. And it's swung on and missed for strike 3. He challenged him with a fastball, and Schweitzer unable to keep up. Big strikeout, his 2nd of the inning. And now the defense can relax just a bit as they go back to their normal depths. The good news from a Cortland perspective, though, is that they go back to the top of the order, and Scott Giordano, who has a couple of hits today, doubled and scored to start the game, and he singled back off of Brian Cardone in the 4th. Giordano, the left-handed hitter, also has an RBI today, and the Tigers are just going to intentionally walk him. Not a bad decision. Sets up a force at 1st and 2nd for Colin Brevard. It also sets up a right-on-right matchup, which you would think on paper would favor the Tigers. So the double by Myers, the intentional walk to Giordano, sets up Colin Brevard and Corey Cater. Good showdown here in the 8th with 2 outs. Tigers up by a run. And Cater, a half-hearted spin inside move towards second base, just taking a quickie peek at the runner at second base, make sure he's not going anywhere. Brevard hitless today. First pitch from Cater. Breaking ball that could not be squeezed by Goodrich. It was a good pitch, but unable to hold it so he doesn't get the call, and it's 1 ball and no strikes. The outfield playing their normal depth, no real shift being deployed here by Trinity. Now the pitch, swing and a miss. Late on the fastball was Brevard. The count is 1-1. He tried to start him off with a breaking ball on that first pitch, and I think by doing so, it just made it seem like that fastball had even more velocity. Cater has his sign. The sophomore from Sacramento rocks and fires, and another swing and a miss. And the Red Dragons down to their final strike here in this 8th inning. They got the tying run at second base, the go-ahead at first. Pretty good speed for Giordano. Cater was able to get a couple of fastballs right past him. Let's see what he goes here with a 1-2. Fastball low and inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Cold, soggy night here at Trinity University. There's a couple of Titans in Division III baseball get the season started in South Texas. This one, not the cleanest of games, but from an entertainment perspective, it has lived up to the billing. 7-6, Tigers lead it with 2 outs in the 8th. Here comes the 2-2 pitch. Just a little bit low. And I think you could hear Colin Brevard hold his breath from up here. That's where you look back and you pray that the home plate umpire hasn't rung you up. So the count is full. The runners will be in motion with 2 outs. Cater versus Brevard. The right-hander is ready. Here comes the payoff pitch. Swing and a ground ball towards the second baseman. Morrison is there. He gloves. He throws low. And they say he's safe and off the bag. And the tying run will score. Oh, Morrison had plenty of time to throw, but he rushed it. And he took the first baseman, Tucker, off the bag. They're trying to make the argument that he kept his foot on, but it's in a similar fashion that the Tigers were able to score their go-ahead run way back in the 6th inning. That'll be a throwing error that goes against Morrison. An unearned run goes against Cater. And now they get the left-hander in Brian Cortland to the plate. Just incredible stuff taking place in this season opener. The 2 teams have combined for 6 errors, 14 hits, and a combined 14 runs. And now time is called as Dave Smith, the pitching coach, out to talk with the youngster on the hill. Giordano was only able to move up 90 feet on the play, so he stays at second base. But again, with 2 outs, you're running on contact, so you would think a base hit would be able to bring him home. And what was once the pressure of trying to maintain the lead now sort of evolves into the pressure of trying not to give up the lead. Because it was an error, it won't count as a hit and an RBI for Brevard. That RBI goes to nobody, and the run isn't charged to any pitcher because it was with an error. The conference on the mound is over. The Tigers scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th inning to take, at the time, a 7-4 lead. And now Cortland has responded with 3 runs in the 8th. Now the pitch to Corcoran. Fastball over the outside corner for a strike. It's 0-1. Cater's fastball has been old faithful in this inning. It's not like they've hit him hard, but the Red Dragons have done enough to generate the 3 runs they needed. Now the 0-1. Swing and a sharply hit ball to the second baseman, but Morrison gets a nice high hop, and oh gosh, he spikes the throw in the ground once again, and it goes into the dugout. Each base runner gets to go up 90 feet. They're trying to argue that another run gets to score, but you don't get the 2 bases with the ball going into the dugout. So it should be second and third, but the go-ahead run has scored. It's the second error charged to the second baseman Morrison and his many batters. That has got to be a helpless feeling for the Tigers' second baseman. For Cater, you've done all that you could. You got 2 ground balls. The inning should have been over, but instead now it's second and third for the cleanup hitter, Marcos Peravaleris. And he has hit the ball sharply a couple of times in his afternoon. He's officially 1 for 4. He had a double back in the first inning that scored the game's first 2 runs. And then he also hit it sharply his last time up, though it was an inning-ending double play. Now Cater, home with a first pitch and a swing and a foul ball straight back. It's 0-1. Brevard over at third base, Cortland at second. 2 outs. Tigers trailed by a run. Here's the pitch. Swing and another ground ball to the second baseman. Morrison has it, and this time he's able to throw a strike over to first base. But the damage is done. After giving up 3 runs in the 7th, the Red Dragons tack on 4 in the 8th. They take a 1-run lead as the Tigers try to find a response when we come back in the bottom of the 8th inning here on the Tiger Network. Welcome back here to the Tiger Network. Bottom of the 8th inning, MJ Mets, 1 pitch and 1 out. That's a foul pop out into the first base territory. So for John Rada, good start for him. 1 pitch and 1 out as the Tigers find themselves trailing 8-7 late in this game. 2019 season opener between Cortland State Red Dragons and the Trinity University Tigers. And that's going to bring up Logan Morrison, who desperately trying to find a way on base. The pitch is popped up and fouled out of play. It's 1-1. Tigers have opted to go with a pinch hitter. Brandon Caraway now in for the Tigers. Left-handed hitter, number 3. Going against the right-handed throwing John Rada. Hopefully that's an advantage the Tigers can cash in on. Here's the pitch. And it's a fastball up and away. And in the previous half inning, Logan Morrison had a couple of killer errors for the Tigers that directly led to some runs. And Coach Scannell opting to go with a change off the bench. Now the pitch, and that's a strike over the outside corner. Evens the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. This one is swung on, grounded up the middle. That's a base hit. The Tigers able to find some magic off the bench. The boys in the dugout fired up from the Tiger perspective. The tying run is on at first base. And in the latter third of this game, it's really been about responses. The Tigers responded to some of the momentum being applied earlier in the game by the Red Dragons. They were able to take the lead. Then we saw a response from Cortland that saw them take the lead in the 8th inning. And with only 1 out, even if the Tigers don't score, if they're able to put up a 0 in the 9th inning, they're not in a terrible spot, all things considered. This is one of the best offensive teams in the country. They've got 7 runs at home, and even they would admit they felt like they left some runs on the board. As this is a hit and run, and it's a swinging bunt by the left-handed hitting Wisniewski. That one stays in fair territory. The Red Dragons are able to get the out over at first base, but the tying run moves over to scoring position. So late drama once again. The action seemingly endless in the last 15 or so minutes. Back to the top of the order, and Mason Meredith, who is hitless today. Put out goes 2-3 for the second out of the inning. Meredith, who walked and scored in the 4th, struck out his last time up back in the 7th. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. No balls and a strike. Busy Saturday here on campus. Of course, women's basketball underway officially. Men will be playing just after them. We had some tennis earlier in the day. Softball had to be relocated with the weather. But that hasn't stopped us from being entertained to a pretty good game as the 0-1 pitch, breaking ball in the dirt. It's a ball and a strike on Meredith. .61, 175-pounder from Houston, Texas. Went to Memorial High School, did Meredith. This is junior season. Now the pitch. Ooh, a check swing on a fine breaking ball, and he couldn't hold up. The count now a ball and 2 strikes. And now if you're Meredith, you just want to get bat on the ball any way that you can. Tying run over at second base. The Tigers trail it 8-7. 2 outs. Here's the pitch. And a breaking ball, a little bit upstairs. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Not necessarily a bad setup pitch. He's got options, Desreda. He can go back with a breaking ball in the dirt, or he can try and sneak a fastball by him. Here's the 2-2. Breaking ball in the dirt. Good stop. And an even better take from Meredith to work the count full. That's something when you check swing and you know it costs you a strike, it can really affect the mentality of a hitter. Weren't exactly the easiest pitches to lay off, but he's getting some of that confidence back by working the count full. The 3-2. Fastball, swing and a miss, strike 3, and the inning is over. So Rada goes back to old numero uno. He gets the strikeout, and the Tigers are done here in the 8th. We go to the 9th inning. It's the Red Dragons leading the Tigers 8-7 here in the 2019 season opener on the Tiger Network. Don't go anywhere. Top of the ninth inning, 8-7 our score. Corey Cater still in the game for the Tigers. And his first pitch to the left-handed hitting DH Paul Franzese is a strike over the outside corner. The count is 0-1. Now the line and the offer, that's a little bit low and outside. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. It's interesting to see this game go back and forth. The Tigers really felt like they had done enough to potentially see this one out after they took a 3-run lead into the 8th inning. But Cortland came roaring back for 4 more as the and missed. That's strike 2. Couple of errors by the Tigers in that 8th inning proved to be really costly, and because of that, we saw a pinch hitter in for Logan Morrison, and now a defensive change as that pinch hitter is out, and Michael Montreza in at second base for the Tigers as 1-2 pitch just off the outside corner. Not a bad location for that off-speed pitch. The 8th inning, the Red Dragons sent 9 men to the plate. So the guy who started the inning an inning ago now looks at strike 3. Paul Franzese down on strikes. Beautiful location again there from Cater. And 1 up and 1 down from the Tigers. So, as it stands right now, the Tigers are able to just keep the deficit at 1. Say they come back and win the game. Cater in line to pick up his first win of the season. Doesn't look like anybody's getting loose right now for the Red Dragons, so you would think that John Rada would stay in the game. The batter now, Garrett Green, the second catcher used today by the Red Dragons. He started with James Varian. Green came into the game about halfway through as the pitch now to Green is a strike at the letters. He didn't love the call, but he doesn't have to. It's still a strike, and the count is 1-1. Cater, once again ready. Now the pitch. Swing and a line drive towards right field, but right there is the right fielder, Martin. He will make the catch for the second out of the inning. Well struck there by Green. Just wish he could have either gotten it closer to the line or in that gap. For Cater, it's 2 up and 2 down. He has really pitched well, given the circumstances. Here is Joe Tardif, who struck out in that previous inning. Cater picked up a pair of strikeouts in the 8th. First pitch to him, breaking ball over the knees for a strike. It's 0-1. In the 9th inning, the Tigers will have 2, 3, and 4 due up. So if you needed to try and orchestrate a rally, that's probably not a bad place to start. Here's the 0-1. Swung on, popped up towards the right field line, but this one slicing out of play. Count quickly 0-2. Tardif 0 for 4. A couple of ground outs, a fly out to right field, and that strikeout I previously mentioned. And if you're Cater, it's not just about getting a 1-2-3 inning. You want to try and finish off Tardif right now and get your guys in the dugout and try and apply any sort of pressure here on the Red Dragons. They were probably itching for a couple more insurance runs, and if you shut them down 1-2-3 just like that, all of a sudden there's no time to catch your breath. The 0-2. Oh, Tardif just gets a piece of it to stay alive. And we'll live to see another 0-2 pitch in a moment. Change out the baseballs now. Cater didn't love that one. Cold, wet day like this as well. That ball feels a little heavy in your hand. You certainly don't want to keep that in play. Cater has his sign. The 0-2 pitch. Fastball over the outside corner, strike 3. A fist pump from Cater as he walks off the field. The Tigers come sprinting into the dugout. And we go to the bottom of the ninth inning. The Tigers need 1 run to tie, 2 runs to win the season opener, and a top 10 showdown here on the Tiger Network. Bottom of the ninth inning here on the Tiger Network. Chris Garagiola alongside Josh Machigemba. John Rada still in the game for Cortland. He has been tasked to try and close this one out. 2, 3, and 4 are due up for the Tigers. And the first pitch to that number 2 hitter, Jake Martin, a strike over the outside corner.
Yeah, Martin 2 for 4 today. Single and a double back in the 4th and 6th innings, but he's also struck out in the 7th and flew out to the right fielder.
First pitch, line past the shortstop into left field, a base hit. Well, I was just about to say that the first batter, if he finds a way on base, can set the entire tone for this inning. Not to say that the Tigers haven't had 2-out magic. They absolutely have. But when you need a run and you're down to your final 3 outs, getting that leadoff guy on can be the thing you need to start a rally. And it can be the thing to fire up a guy like Rafe Chalmette. Chalmette today is just 1 for 4, but that one came his last time up. It was a well-placed single. No team has a home run in this 15-run slugfest, but a home run would end it, and the first pitch is a fastball up and away, ball 1. There is activity getting loose right now in the Cortland bullpen. It's a right-hander. Both of these teams feel like they have done enough to get a win, and both of these teams will look at this game as the pitch to Chalmette is again high and outside, 2 balls and no strikes. Both of these teams, whoever comes out on the wrong end of it, will certainly look at this game and see areas of improvement.
Yeah. Both of these teams, though, giving us exactly what we felt like we deserved here in the opening game.
Now
taking this one right down to the wire. Sorry.
No, you're good. The pitch to Chalmette. Looked like that one was a little bit out of the zone. It's 3 balls and no strikes. And if Chalmette is able to reach, it would make things interesting from a Tiger perspective. Here's the pitch, and that's high and outside, ball 4. Well, don't have to wait long now, do we? If you're the Tigers, a sacrifice bunt puts the tying run at third base with only 1 out, giving you plenty of flexibility to bring home the tying run. The winning run obviously being in scoring position as well. However, if you don't bunt him over, it's the risk v reward. A ground ball certainly could play you into a double play ball. Any ball to the outfield that doesn't drop, it doesn't really move anybody unless it's hit fairly deep. However, the man at the plate, Michael Goodrich, hit an absolute missile into the gap in right center his last time up. So like we talked about in that top of the 9th inning, if you were going to try and orchestrate a rally, starting with that number 2 spot is probably the best spot you could start. Goodrich bunts. He pops it in the air, and a diving catch in foul territory by the third baseman, Dan Schweitzer. And that's a backbreaker. Oh, man, what a good break there for the Red Dragons.
Yeah, I was just about to say, the one disadvantage of playing into the bunt right there is even though every guy should be able to lay down the bunt, you've got a guy who's batting cleanup who obviously is batting cleanup for a reason. And so a bit interesting that you have him put into the bunt, and it works against Trinity for this one. But they're still in good shape here with John Tucker, who's already been pretty clutch today, up in a big spot here in the ninth.
So pretty much the entire Cortland infield playing for a double play ball right now. Third baseman even with the bag, middle infielders pinching in towards second. Here's Tucker, the right-handed hitter. And Rada will step off the rubber. Martin, again, pretty decent speedy. He was 6 for 6 in stolen bases last year, and that's not exactly a 60 time, but it does give you an indication that he knows his way around the bases as the first pitch is cut on and missed. No balls and a strike here on Tucker.
Yeah, Tucker 1 for 4, but has a run scored and 2 RBI. Looking for more.
Now the pitch. Swing and a ground ball past the shortstop into left center. They're going to wave the runner around third. This game is tied. The winning run is at third. And the Tigers, they once again take the upper hand in the season opener.
John Tucker once again doing it at the plate. Now 2 for 5, 3 RBI. And unless this is a walk-off home run from Bender, he won't have any runs scored in this one. But what a job and a tough spot for John Tucker. And right now, Cortland just wishing he would die.
Some guys just come up in a clutch situation. Tucker has had 2 big ones. Now there's double barrel action here in the Cortland bullpen. A lefty and a righty getting loose. Coach Joe Brown, though, for Cortland, he has not made a pitching change. And the winning run, again, as we're tied at 8, is over at third base. So you would think at this point it's Rada's game to win or to lose. First pitch is low and outside, ball 1. The batter, Dallas Binder, the big fella.
Big fella 0 for 4 today, but it could be a great 1 for 5 day. It could be a great 0 for 4 day if he gets a sac fly.
The outfield playing shallow. They've got to be able to throw out Chomet at the plate. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss.
Yeah, big spot there for Bender. He looked like he was just trying to do whatever he could to just throw that one into the outfield.
Here's the thing also. The infield right now is playing at the middle. Double play depth, which is a risky play. Here's the pitch. A jam shot towards shallow center. Not very deep. Coming in is Giordano. Chomet will tag it. It's dropped. And he dropped it. And the game is over. Tigers win 9-8. That's why you put the ball in play, because anything can happen. Dog pile right past the first base bag, creeping up the right field line. Cortland, who had done so much to come back and not only take the lead, they looked like they were in a position to win. But the Tigers on their home field just would not be denied, and they take a thrilling season opener 9-8. Unbelievable.
You mentioned right at the start of that inning, you wanted those guys up, your 2 through 4 hitters. They were able to get on base. Unlucky break for Goodrich on the bunt that lined right out to the third baseman, but it didn't matter. The Tigers, 5 and 6 hitters, able to do a job. And Trinity, I mean, we're lucky. We've got 2 more of these games on tap. And if they're just like this one, it should be a fantastic series between Cortland and Trinity.
Totals from this game for the visitors, the Cortland Red Dragons, 8 runs on 8 hits, 4 errors for them. For the Tigers, 9 runs, 9 hits, 3 errors for the winning pitcher of this game is Corey Cater. Deservedly so with how well he pitched. He moves to 1-0. The losing pitcher goes to John Rada. He did all he could, but ends up on the wrong side of a 9-8 scoreline. We are supposed to maybe play another game. We're going to have both of these coaches sort of confer with one another and figure out whether or not that's even possible. So be sure you're tuned in to Twitter, Trinity University Athletics as well. We'll be posting updates there once we know exactly what's going to happen. If we don't play again today, the plan is to somehow, some way, get a doubleheader in before Cortland has to fly back to New York. So again, keep an eye out for those updates. We will deliver them as soon as we get them. But for Josh Machigemba, this is Chris Garagiola. Thanks so much for making Tiger Baseball part of your weekend. We will either be with you a little bit later today or we'll see you tomorrow.
And welcome back if you're still with us. Quick update to the situation, as you can see there on your screen. Game 2 projected to be tomorrow, 10 a.m. start time. We're going to try to get a doubleheader in starting at 10 a.m. Have rain in the forecast tonight, so everything could change. Stay tuned to Trinity U Tigers on Twitter, or check the trinitytigers.com baseball schedule page. We'll try to keep everything as updated as possible and go from there. You can also log on. There will be a link for Game 2, and as soon as we can get on the air, we will, and we'll keep everybody updated. So join us again tomorrow morning. We'll be on the air sometime around 9:50, and thank you for joining us today, and looking forward to seeing you again in the morning. Thanks for all of us here at Tiger Network. Have a great night.